Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Firing Range. We are Sans Fallout tonight, so I will be taking over as the interim host. We have a great episode for you tonight. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I feel like it's been a little bit since we've seen you guys. We're going to be talking about the new weapons that came with the December 30th update. We're going to talk about the ability changes. That's a big one. Might even talk about Stompies a little bit. But I guess first, let's get the introduction out of the way. You know, as I said, I'm Mercules, joined by Cammy, cool guy, Drew. How are you boys doing tonight?
Doing
you
good.
know what? This update in Destiny got me feeling so good. I'm excited to play.
It's exciting. I'm excited to play again. I got that feeling again of like I wake up and I'm like, I want to play Destiny.
Is it because they put the BR into Destiny? Does that have anything to do with it?
It might have a small, maybe really big part about that.
I didn't think that we're going to have this type of scale, man. It seems like a lot of teams at Bungie had their hands in this, dude. There's so much. There's new spaces. There's a lot of new weapons. Then the ability changes. It's a lot more than I imagined that they were going to do, dude. And honestly, collectively, it's one of the biggest updates to the game that we've seen. And it's just for their 30th anniversary, right? We have great weapons that all are top tier, and some of them are even elite in their category. The ability changes completely change how we play the game and build craft. And of course, we got a new dungeon and we have new 6-player activity. And those are, to me, we've had some content drops in the past that kind of didn't really hit the mark, man. They were kind of duds. You did it for the loot, but this is actually fun to keep playing. And also like to speed run too, once you get 6 players. Dungeon has great weapons, has fun encounters. It's really good. Really good update.
And the Halo weapons are free. That's the craziest part. It was almost the opposite payment scheme that I was going to think they went with the dungeon.
Like, comparatively, there's enough here that it's almost better than some seasons that I've remembered, really, in terms of how much they brought. You know, they may have numerically brought more stuff, but the quality of what we got with the December 30th update was huge, in my opinion.
That's the biggest thing that separates. Yeah, that separates it for me. Same wavelength, Drew, where them handling the replayability is much more important to me than bringing new content that I'll burn through in a week and then never really touch it again. Using the BR, I think I'm going to use that for years, not just a week.
Yeah. And watch out if that thing ever gets a buff, dude. Could be a couple points in body shot damage. It's coming, dude.
Yeah, then it'll only 4 bursts.
As good as it was. Yeah. So I guess that kind of brings us to our first topic anyways, which is going to be the weapons, because what would we be doing on Firing Range if we weren't talking about new guns? And there are a lot of them. Obviously the BR, the Magnum, we've got
Let's start with the Forerunner, dude. Let's start with the Forerunner.
Yeah, sure. I mean, how are we all feeling about it? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Already
I fully expect it to get toned down some way, somehow. It has to. They tried to rein it in a little bit with its starting ammo, which is good. It's just like every other special weapon in the Crucible. You get 10 rounds. It's good for 2 kills. It's either 2 head, 2 body, so that's 8 for 2 kills, or 3 crits. Regardless, you're getting 2 kills out of the mag. You would then have to go pick up ammo, but it is lightning quick at 50 meters, dude. It challenges. It doesn't matter if you have a scout rifle out. Like ranges you should be doing well in, it'll sit you down, send you back to spawn. I enjoy it. I'm just embracing it all, but I fully expect it to get touched at some point somehow.
So this might be a slight tangent, but it's really cool and on the subject of Forerunner sidearms. So there was this frame rate bug that made it so they weren't exactly hit scan on PC once they exceeded a certain frame rate. And Arbalist also followed that rules for some reason or another. And funny enough, during the times that I played with Fallout and Cool Guy on console, the meta over there was Arbalist and Drang. And on PC, you just didn't see it that much. And it's kind of cool that the reason for that was that bug, most likely, as to why console players fell in love with the thing and PC players overlooked it. So now, going back to Forerunner, first time in a long time I tried sidearms and wasn't afraid that I would get a hit marker but no damage downrange. So feels good. Unfortunately, Mechaneer's trick sleeves are disabled. I was really looking forward to going Forerunner Drang.
Good. So good with Forerunner, dude.
Think about it. Like, they're both a sidearm, so it doesn't matter if you're in the red, just switch to the other.
I love how it feels. I think the Forerunner feels very authentic. The hip fire was like, I don't know. I expected it to be a little bit better, but like it doesn't. Like, I mean, I don't think that's its thing, right? You have to aim down sights, and I suppose it's still pretty good because it's a sidearm. But it feels authentic, man. It feels great. When I was making a video about it, like I kind of expected it. I thought it was a lot hotter when I like tried it initially, but I don't know. Like it seems to be like, you know, its usage is going down. People are still like using the other special weapons. Like, yeah, people are still using like shotguns, fusion, snipers. I think a bit more. So I don't know. I've kind of like started respecting it like a sniper. In that case, it's like a sniper with a little, I guess, lower of a skill ceiling. So I feel like when I start treating it in that regard, does it really feel like broken? I don't know. I think it is a little heavy on the aim assist. I did critique that. I think that perhaps maybe should be toned down, or maybe I think that you should be punished a little bit more for pressing the trigger repeatedly. I recall, I think, I don't know, like I'm pretty sure everyone realizes it's like very heavily inspired by like the Halo CE Magnum. To my limited knowledge, I'm not a Halo CE kid, but the Magnum in Halo CE kind of blooms a little bit more than the Forerunner does. When you really tap the trigger repeatedly. So maybe I'd like to see them like, this is the weirdest thing. I've never asked for a bloom, but I mean, maybe like just make it inaccurate, a little bit more inaccurate, so that impacts your sniper range a little bit more if you're not adequately pacing like the perk asks you to.
Question.
Yeah.
10 round starting mag. We have trials coming up this weekend, or soon, next weekend. It'll be this weekend. It's coming back because Iron Banner's here. 10 rounds. Say 3 people are using it. We have 30 rounds. We have a team shot in the beginning. Does that warrant a team usage? Do you think it's that good?
I don't know, man. I really don't know what to think. I thought about that in my video too. Like I was like thinking like, is everyone gonna just put this on and like, just like snipe? Like, is this like
delete each other?
Team? Yeah. Like, is that what's gonna happen? But like. I don't know, because like what if another team, like we've seen obviously teams where they have incredible movement and they're able to like, you know, work between cover and like, you know, beat people to certain areas on the map. Obviously there's a lot of players that spec into their movement and having that kind of agility. Will that pressure be too much?
I'm going to lean towards no.
I don't know.
Because the alternate loadout's going to be like Chaperone with Igneous Hammer to help with that team shot and still have that close range lethality. And with the map design of some of these maps, Chaperone kind of breaks it. There's no real safety you can run away from it.
Yeah.
My 2 cents at least.
I know that Drew got it. I'm still looking for the Catalyst. It's kind of a novelty in the Crucible from what I've seen. PvE wise, you could probably get some things going with some synergy in the skill trees. But it's just a fun thing to do, I think. Does it really add to it? I don't think so, but it is very cool, very fun.
Yeah, don't really have much to add on the Magnum. I was talking to my other podcast co-host the other day, and he was saying that he put it on and he didn't like it. He was like, I didn't like it very much. It's probably my least favorite sidearm. I was like, well, you're doing it all wrong, man. You got to use like a scout rifle. Get those 50-meter kills. If you got the BXR,
sniper,
the BXR is your close range, and use the Magnum as your scout rifle, and you'll enjoy it a lot more, I think. So Magnum's definitely a really cool gun. Probably one of the most unique weapons that we've had added to Destiny in recent memory.
I've never ever brought this up, but have you guys read the lore on it? And if you get the Catalyst, read what Zur says. It was like very heartfelt and like kind of like breaking the fourth wall, like Bungie saying thanks for playing our games, pretty much.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool. And again, like I think the lore on the Forerunner is like super cool, and like the way that they kind of like subtly hint and reference to the fact that it's not the same, but it was like built off an inspiration off of an old relic that was a hand cannon maybe before its time. Like it's so cool. I think it's so cool.
It's very neat. Well, talking about the other ones they brought back, there's a lot of them. The BXR, man. So talk about unique weapons.
Before we talk about it, can we talk about the new perks first for the weapons? Perpetual motion. I mean, there's golden tricorn.
Blunt execution rounds.
Blunt execution rounds. Perpetual motion. And we were talking a little bit about before we went live. We're not sure. We've had conflicting reports of, what that's actually giving, but it is giving what surplus gives, and not the actual number, but it's giving handling, stability, reload. So one would think, because it's so easy to proc, it is definitely less than what Surplus gives, because you can get perpetual motion pretty easily. I would imagine it's around like capping at 10 to 15 being max, because it's so easy at the times 2, of course. But with a lot of these weapons, especially the BXR, it's got some chunky stats. It's roided out as far as its base stats. So when you start getting some of those mid-range and barrels, it's going to hit 100 stability with that, no problem, or 100 handling, or 100 reload. Like, it could have them all at the same time. Then I see it on like Eyasluna. I haven't gotten it on that yet. I've had it on the Trace. Like, it's a really good tier 1 perk, or column 1 perk. And usually within our column 1 perks, Killing Wind got really hot, Heating Up got really hot. So this is an element to go in, to throw in as a possible option instead of autoloading holster, underdog, things like that usually doesn't really complete a weapon. So I'm really excited that perpetual motion, hopefully it sticks around and keeps going into Witch Queen, because I'm really enjoying it on the guns I've gotten it on.
Yeah, that perk seems like it's not a lot of work to activate for the majority of players. So,
and the shotgun 2 Matador with it,
sure.
You think you throw on some dexterity and a targeting and plus perpetual motion, you're getting your handling up. So
yeah, good. It looks like it finishes out the missing stats for some of these guns to get them to that like feel good number.
And it procs when it's stowed too. So you can switch to the gun and have perpetual motion times 2 even when your gun's not drawn, which is a really big benefit to me. About
I would assume that the handling bump that it gives does help with that switch.
It's part of handling.
The
still draw speed.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just helping all the time, dude. It's cool.
What about blunt execution rounds?
Top tree arc strider.
Those?
Top tree arc strider's the way.
I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna look like a fool again because I like to trash talk subclasses.
Are you gonna profess your love
Blade Barrage?
For Blade Barrage? Yeah, buddy. I've been telling you for years, bro.
You can have your moment. I deserve this.
You do need to try it with the Bombardiers, though. I know you're addicted to the Gemini Jesters, but like I told you in the DMs, dude, like the ball burning of 1,000 suns is the way for that subclass, just to keep going further and further and elevate. Because you're using it for your dodge. Ability cooldowns are. We have so much to get into. Why are you liking blunt execution with that? Is it because you can hit the threshold easily for the melee with those burning knives?
I can use it defensively or aggressively, so it's like if I'm shotgunning, I can still follow up with it. If I have my BR out and I'm like not shotgunning or like sniping, I snipe with the BR sometimes, but like, or Magnum for fun. But if I'm also like, I just happen to have the BR out, I can play defensively, just like it's an instant volley. It's like super easy to connect in my experience. And then I'm usually always doing it within 15 meters. So I always get BXR off of it. So
all right, I'm going to be Drew's anger translator here. Drew uses Blade Barrage because he gets to drag them into a different video game by hitting them with the knives.
Yes.
He gets to proc the Geminis repeatedly with the BR out.
Yeah, and I actually just made a video today on a build where you can dodge 3 times in a row and proc Gemini Jesters every single time just by hitting 1 volley of knives, and that activates your BXR. So that's why I'm using it.
It's a pretty good reason to use it.
I saw a lot of people, they're kind of iffy on that. Like Drew's kind of saying, I mean, the way to get that perk going is within the skill tree heavy, right? It's either heavy ranged or heavy close. Like the combination blow, deadly reach, strider, really, really good. You would think something like the Celestial Fire Dawnblade would be good. It's not, man. Just because I think there has to be a damage threshold and a meter threshold. So if you only land like 1 Celestial Fire for 35 damage, it's not going to proc. If it's more than 15 meters, it's not going to proc. Usually really up in your face. Like a Syntho Titan's actually really good with it too. And I see more and more people starting to use the Syntheseps with how the ability cooldowns are going. But
I think
that's
in
how you
trials,
get that thing to shine.
Just proccing it is enough. It doesn't have to convert to a kill. Just proccing it is free damage for something
10
you're
seconds
probably already doing.
Of pain.
Yeah, I think it's, again, I do think that it is like requires a good amount of setup. You have to build into it to really utilize it. Like you said, top tree arc strider, Blade Barrage class, those are classes that you can you're building into it essentially. And it does have a little bit of a skill requirement on its execution. Like sure, you have a good amount of time, but I like that it's just that one burst, and you gotta land your burst, right? So I do.
Yeah,
think
I've whiffed
that
it. You can whiff it.
Yeah,
Just-
I've whiffed it, right? So I do think it's niche, but I think that if you build into it, it's a lot of fun, and I think it's quite useful as a damage boost that does not require a kill. And I think it works excellently, like you said, Cool Guy, with Top Shark Strider and like Synthos, because even if you're like a shotgun heavy class, shotgun melee will proc it because it works on your backpack, essentially. So when the BR is stowed, it's still, you get a melee, it still activates. So that's kind of neat. The only reason I didn't like that is because that's like better for more aggressive play. I think the Blade Barrage, the throwing knives work a little bit better for defensive and still have potential for like aggressive play. So, but yeah, it's all great.
I think the biggest thing with the BXR perk is the ready speed off of the melee. So just how quickly you get to the weapon to follow up before somebody could realistically double melee you.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors of builds that allow potentially the BXR to one tap with special damage stacks, like Charged with Light and Well of Radiance and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Where it does like 68 damage per crit. Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think I got 67 highest.
Yeah,
67
so 67.
Yeah.
67 is a one tap against anyone if you hit
Is
all
it
three
really?
crits.
Yeah, it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
If you have
It's
a proc,
180 plus
you pick up-
21, so yeah,
You pick up
201.
charge, you step in a well.
I'm pretty sure just
'Cause
frontal
I've
assault and
definitely
charge
had it
will do
with
it.
Charged with Light. I run charged.
Maybe you have a little Lumina buddy with you.
Dude, that's 201, yeah. I mean, it's
Who
like
would
the
do
stars
that?
have to align.
Who
but
does
yeah.
that?
Who does that? You can still do it too after the
I know
ability
you
nerf. It's a little
can.
bit harder, but you can still do it. It's pretty good. Let's talk about that. Let's save that for a little bit. So we talked about the two big ones I think that people are most excited about. Golden Tricorn. What's the overall opinion on that?
So
I
it's
can't
on
get
the
it to drop.
trace. It's on. So the big thing with that perk is its second damage profile is within a subclass tree. So like retraced path is a solar. All right, that's the new trace rifle. So you have to really get the benefits, you have to be on a solar. I think 1,000 Yard Stare has it, and that's void. So of course, spectral blades, things like that. And to get that going, the perk gives 15% damage on follow-up kills. So I'm actually making a video on it right now. It's a really good perk, right? And it's good for two ways. Even if you don't heavily build into it, like if you want to use it with a Sentinel, it'll be fine, even though it's a solar weapon, because it essentially works. After you get a kill, it's 15% more damage in the Crucible, 20 to the head. So it's a 9 crit, 1 body, 0.6 TTK, lightning fast. And what's going to happen is it's a 7-second timer, but it'll refresh. So if you get a kill, it just stays up. It's kind of like Rampage, right? It'll just keep on going. But if you're on a solar sub, and I use Athrus's Embrace on Bottom Tree Gunslinger, so it could be a one-shot knife, could be a Celestial Fire melee with Dawnblade. As long as it's a charged melee solar final blow or a solar grenade, it goes to × 2, and that's 50% more damage. It's like multi-kill clip. And that timer lasts for 11 seconds, and that thing does 26 to the head for a 0.43 TTK. It's a really fun perk, and it's so good that I kind of look at it like this. If you're going to main the trace rifle, which you can if you have on scavengers, Golden Tricorn is it, because the second damage perk that lasts for that long and it has that fast of a TTK, it's hard to pass that up. Even if you're not, again, on a solar subclass, because it has that built in. But if you want to take the melt machine a little higher, you do it on a Dawnblade or a Gunslinger. But if you don't want to main it, it's got a second good perk for those players, Harmony, right? That is 21 to the crit. That's still that 0.6 TTK. So you can still use your exotic primary, which is a Hawkmoon, an Ace, Huckleberry. Could be whatever, right? Stars in Shadow. Oh, not Stars in Shadow. Messenger. Could be something like that. Get a kill, switch, and you have that 0.6 in your pocket. They thought on the PvE side, like they thought of everything, because if you don't want to heavily build into a solar subclass to make it shine with ×2 Tricorn, there's still One for All. There's still Frenzy. There's still Harmony, right? So, and then of course they have Disruption Break and they have Demolitionist. So there's a lot of things you can do with that weapon. I love it. I think they did a really good job with its perk selection and what you can do. And I talked for a while. I want to hear your thoughts.
You're a fan of the first legendary trace rifle.
I like it, man. It's good. It's good. You know, it's always been locked behind an exotic, and that's why you don't really see them, right? Because that's taken away a lot of things in a lot of loadouts in PvE and PvP. They're very designed. Cold Heart, Wave Splitter, Lens, Divinity, it's its own thing in PvE, right? It gets used the most, obviously. But you're allowed to not use an exotic slot and get all these cool perks that we've had for a while and some new ones. I enjoy it.
Did you say main a trace rifle? Because that's exactly what I did. I started using 2 of them. So
Which ones?
Ager's Scepter and then a Harmony of the retrace path. So I'd start with Ager's, melt somebody, switch to the Harmony, and it has shoot to loot on it too. So the best part about it is you can shoot the green ammo out of the air and have an instant reload. It is the most stylish thing in Destiny.
Dude, and also lead from gold too on other weapons. Like, it's really, really cool, dude. Really, really cool the way they designed that thing.
How you feel about it, Drew? You like the trace rifle, or are you not a big fan?
I've got good rolls, but I haven't used it yet, man. I'm excited to rock the spiritual focus rifle, but I mean, I just haven't gotten around to using it, so I'm just letting you guys talk about it.
I think you peaked with Prometheus lens. Like, you're never going to top that. This man created a beam the size of the map at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the like ammo days where you could store 400 bullets and whatnot.
Oh my god. I'll never forget that. That was wild. The beam was literally massive. So basically, like, way back when in year 1, I used to actually use Prometheus lens, like, unironically with, I don't know, like, sometimes I'd use Anakin and sometimes Frederick's. And I started as a meme, as, like, I guess on a lot of things that I do are. But it was a lot of fun. So, like, we started playing comp, and, you know, when you can keep the beam going, obviously, and when you get kills, it'll keep, like, reloading it, so you just keep, the beam gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to a point where, like, I got 3 kills, and the beam was so big that I was like, dude, I'm not gonna let it go. And I started whipping around, and I got the 4th kill, like, randomly.
Around the wall, by the way. Like, it was spirit
like,
bomb
behind the
levels
wall
of
somewhere.
huge.
I just started like whipping the beam around. I still have the clip.
And the best part is, it sounds like a siren when it's going off too. So the enemy team has to hear that and just see this giant solar flare in the middle of the map.
And another really, really good one, before I forget, because Golden Tricorn is with a solar tree.
Mm-hmm.
Path of Burning Steps, dude, because you get ×1, which is 15% more, and then you get Firewalker on top of that, so it does 24 to the head. And that's not counting if you... Yeah, that's still the 0.6. That's not counting if you ever get to the ×2 Tricorn with, let's say, a Sunspot, and then the Sunspot damage on top of that. Like, it has the potential to have like a 5 crit kill, dude, like a 0.28 or something like that. Very nasty on Path of Burning Steps.
You know, there weren't just perks added for normal guns that people play with. They actually went kind of hard on sword perks this release. We got 3 new sword perks. You guys think that there's anything worth talking about there?
There's only one sword perk as far as I'm concerned.
Speedrunners are very happy with at least one of them.
I didn't know there was 2 more. I'm not gonna lie.
There's only one.
Eager Edge.
Yeah, that's the energy sword perk.
And like Cold Steel, you can slow stuff when you hit it with a heavy attack.
You got Halo 2 sword flag.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Merc. I didn't know that was a perk until you just said it.
You know, you got Cold.
Live in the now,
God,
Drew. Live in the now. Where have you been?
I'm totally serious. I thought there was only 1 new perk, and I did not hear about that perk until you said that.
Yeah,
That's
so
how much
there's
I've been
Cold
using
Steel.
Eager Edge.
Powered sword hits slow targets, and then there's Duelist Trance, which is sword final blows grant increased charge rate, efficiency, and defense until you stow the weapon. And then, of course, there's Eager Edge, which is the one that everybody's using to yeet themselves across the map.
Well, I love it in PvP too, though. I think it's actually really functional, and I love that I have a legendary weapon in my heavy slot that I actually want to use now.
It's very strong. Just as a repositioning tool, it's one of the best power weapons in the game. You can spawn trap people. Like, it's a power ammo that makes 1 kill equal 5 if you're good enough.
Of course, there's Gjallarhorn, right? There's a lot with this update, man. I've been using it. I know a lot of people use the coil, but I'm not sure that the Gjallarhorn's gonna kind of switch that out for those players because the coil's too good in PvE. But it's got me a lot of kills, and I've also remember, like, with the Wolfpack rounds, dude. Like, the first couple times I was shooting it, like, even when I thought that it wasn't going to kill me, it still killed me. Like, as I was approaching it, like, say they're 15 meters away, I get the kill and I walk up, Wolfpack round seek me and take me out. But it's been good. It's been fun.
I've been seeing a lot of it in PvP, which is crazy because the amount of rocket launchers that aren't Warcliff coil that I see in PvE prior to this update was 0.
Yeah.
And now I get killed by Gjallarhorn probably more than any other heavy weapon at the moment.
Yeah, most of them are going raid boss mode for sure.
So we also got some brought back weapons, not just brand new weapons, not brought back from Halo, I should say. We got brought back from year one. Eyasluna makes a triumphant in some people's eyes return, not so triumphant in other people's eyes. How do you guys think, this is actually a listener question from Glow, but how do you guys think that Eyasluna is fitting into the hand cannon meta right now, stacked up against things like Palindrome and Fatebringer?
Perfectly. There's nothing wrong with Eyasluna. And people that are like reaching, stop. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with Eyasluna.
Do you think it's better?
No.
Or do you think it's worse?
No. Well, so I'm a firm believer in completing a loadout. Like, I'm not going to compare it to Palindrome because I could use Chaperone with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I value using Chaperone? Do I value using Eye of Soul as a sniper? If I do, it's Palindrome. Like, I'm not going to say that means it's better than Eyasluna because it's not. That's the wrong reason. It has everything that you need. It hits, which, by the way, and I'm with you, Drew, like, there comes a certain time you need to ask yourself, is the range good enough? Like, are we fine now with that? Because this thing can get to, what, 35 and a half, 36 meters with rangefinder. Yeah. Without, it still has high enough base stats. It hits in the 32. Like, it can be built as Ace of Spades. Like, it can be built with high cows, kill clip, rapid hit. Like, it can be built as something like Ace of Spades. It's fine. The aim assist stats at 85. It's base 80, but every single sight that it has gives +5 aim assist. I've found that controller players like it a lot more than M&K players. I don't know why that is, but dude, it hits everything. Probably. It hits everything. It hits the stability threshold, the range threshold, handling. Perk-wise, it's got kill clip, it's got harmony, it's got headstone. Headstone's really good with it. I have an outlaw one paired with stasis subs, man.
All right, that's where I talk. Headstone's the only thing that it brings to the table that gets my attention because it does something other hand cannons cannot, and that's synergize with stasis builds and platforms. The way I look at it is like getting a headshot kill, making the glacier means I get damage resistance on my next shotgun fight, which is near the glacier usually.
In trials, it's going to encapsulate the ghost. They have to break it out to get the revive.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah,
it's fine.
It's a grenade cooldown with these ability changes. It's a huge perk, and we only had it on the 180 hand cannon, which in a lot of players' eyes isn't even competitive. So to have it on the competitive archetype is a game changer.
Yeah. I think I have one of two rants on this. Like, oh, sorry, cool guy, you can go ahead because
right there, really, it's Fatebringer, Judgment, and then Eyasluna. Unless you guys can think. I mean, there's Dire if people have some good old Dires. But I mean, what's nice about all of these is they all do something a little bit different if you want them to, right? I mean, the Dire has the opening shot rangefinder. The Fatebringer has the explosive rounds. The Judgment has the multi-kill clip moving target. It has things that it can do. The Eyasluna as well. So it's good that there's choices because there shouldn't be an end-all be-all.
Yeah.
I think that it's right up there with them.
I think they did a good job of side grading the Eyasluna.
So my one of two rants is going to be on this. So I'll warning in advance. The other one's the BR. On first glance, I was kind of like not disappointed, but like put off by this weapon because I think the elephant in the room with this gun coming back is like, is it going to be Austringer, right? Because Austringer was the first, like, for all intents and purposes, redo or bring back of Eyasluna. Like, yeah, it's not the actual name. Sure, it's technically not it. But, like, dude, it was Eyasluna for all intents and purposes at the time coming back to the game. And that gun has some unbelievably insane... I feel like looking back, like, knowing what we know now, opening shot and Eye of the Storm together with that high range, I'm like, what in the heck was this gun? It's insane. It's like, it's perfect. It doesn't get better than that. So I think a lot of people, myself included, but you know, kind of anticipated, like, is this gun gonna come back like that? Like, does it have to come back like that? Should it come back like that? And I think the fact that it didn't might have some people put off a little bit. It had me put off a bit. Again, not disappointed, but like, I was like, huh. Like, you know, this isn't as good as Austringer, you know, in that way, I guess. So what I think they did do well, though, is they made a great faithful adaptation of Eyasluna. They kept the sights like in D1. They give it essentially the same role that was like the ideal role in D1, which was hit in hand, rangefinder, as far as I'm aware. I'm not as into that game, but that's what people say. Rangefinder, rangefinder, hidden hand is essentially the same as rangefinder, moving target. Moving target's kind of better than hidden hand. So I think they did a great, like, again, faithful to what it was in D1 while still presenting cool new options, and it's a great side grade to fill different loadouts. I think what it does exceptionally, and why I would argue that I would choose this hand cannon over some of the other ones in the meta, is that it does a good job of having high range and high stability while having incredibly high or maximum aim assist. Because with, I think, it's 85 and then 95 after moving target. So yeah, one hand cannon targeting mod will take it to 100. And that was a big reason why I said I used Waking Vigil. Waking Vigil, how it compared with Opening Shot compared to Palindrome, it kept up. Like, Opening Shot basically allowed Waking Vigil to be at the same accuracy level. Here, I can restart that quickly. Sorry to interrupt there. Is my mic popping?
Yeah, the mic's just popping a little bit. We got chat.
Yeah,
Chat noticing
I don't know why
it.
that's happening. Let me fix that. I don't mind.
In the meantime,
set that quickly. Go on.
Yeah, so the Luna here, I mean, let's really think about what's going on. I mean, it has rangefinder, has it in the first column. And if you want rangefinder moving target, if you want like a pure dueling role, it's there. Rangefinder also works with anything else, kill clip, headstone, demo. It also has perpetual motion or rapid hit with kill clip. It also has outlaw kill clip. It has heating up, which gives bonus accuracy. That could go with anything really. It has harmony if you don't really want to main it, right? Say you're sniping, say you're using, I don't know, the new 1,000-yard stare, and you're popping off with it, get a headshot, switch to the Luna, 20% more damage. Like, it can fit a ton of playstyles. It has high cal rounds. Like, to me, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's right up there with all of them, and it gives another, well, what's the recoil direction? 96 vertical. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, dude. It's all about feel, and players won't like it. Like, for me, Drew's talking about that Waking Vigil. I don't like that Waking Vigil because you need a 5 out of 5. Like, you do. And I think that when he comes back, he'll admit that. Because if you don't get that 5 out of 5...
you absolutely do.
Yeah. Something like this, you can go numerous routes, and it's going to be farmable. And I was talking on Twitter today. Someone's like, I can't believe this isn't a PvP weapon. I'm like, dude, I'd much rather it be tied behind the farmable dungeon, because I can go in and just bang those things out over and over and over that final chest, not waiting for PvP games just to get, you know, this roll or that roll. Like, I can go target farm it, so I'm cool with that. I do wish that it was adept. Maybe they put it in as a nightfall weapon. That way you can get those extra +2s, and you can get the adept targeting or adept Icarus, whatever. But it's fine, dude. It's a great hand cannon.
Is my mic working now? I'm so sorry. I don't know why it echoed. So I used voice meter and I closed it, and apparently there's an echo that happened, but I also can't hear when I close that program. I'm so sorry, everyone.
You're good.
You're good.
Continue the rant, then.
I was saying that, so what was really interesting about that Waking Vigil cool guy was that it kept up with the accuracy cone of Palindrome with Opening Shot. So it allowed something at that low range to essentially keep up well enough until the third or fourth shot. I want to say it was the fourth shot. I can't remember. Keep up with the accuracy cone of something with so much range. So with that thought process, I guess Eyasluna would kind of just be like Waking Vigil, except with Opening Shot active all the time, right? Like, it's max aim assist. And it has the range all the time.
Plus 20 more range.
Right? Like, wouldn't that be it? Like, theoretically? I haven't tested it, but theoretically.
Everything but, of course, the accuracy.
I mean, like,
that Opening Shot gives.
Yeah, that initial, like, yeah, of course. But for that reason, I'm inclined to say that I think Eyasluna might be a banger. I got the rangefinder moving target roll. I haven't tried it yet, but I think it might be dope.
Another cool thing is for Ophidian users, if you, I think, don't get the handling masterwork, it doesn't waste any stats. It's perfectly 100 handling with, I think, fast draw, but no handling masterwork. So that's pretty cool. Definitely has the markings of an elite hand cannon like that.
I got the best of all worlds, to me at least. I got the max stability 88 with rangefinder kill clip, so I get a lot of range, I get a lot of stability, I got the damage perk. I've been really enjoying it. I do want to get a perpetual motion one though. I think that might be the play, and of course I do want high cows in mid, but I'm okay with ricochet.
Y'all gonna think I'm crazy, but talking strictly Iron Banner here, I think Unrelenting is an elite perk.
Nope, dude, nobody believes me. Like I made an entire
Old
video.
crazy
on that.
cool guy.
You need to remember it got buffed, and it got buffed in such a way that it now gives, I believe, 80 health plus instant regen. So, and it's the same. It's not tied to your recovery stats. Like you could have 1 recovery or 10 or tier 10. It's going to give the same. So it gets to like 100 total health, like near instantly after you get that kill. And it's going to happen every other kill after that. So it lasts long enough to where you could get a kill, run around. I believe it has 8 to 10 seconds before you can get another kill. So like you can be done with a duel, already fully recover, walk around a little bit, get into another duel. As soon as you kill them, that snap 80 health. It's really good. Really good on shotguns too.
Yeah, my thought process was, all right, well, I'm giving up a useful perk, what is it, moving target or rangefinder, perpetual motion maybe, but then Eyasluna's kind of stacked with the stats anyway. Do I really need those as far as it being a win more? Maybe on M&K? Maybe Unrelenting is worth it because it's still going to feel really good and you're going to get health back. You might get a finishing blow on one, someone goes down in trials, and it's a 2v1, but because you have Unrelenting, now you win. I don't know. Could come up.
That's what's nice about that hand cannon though. Like, and that's what's actually nice about a lot of these. I talked about the path earlier on so many routes you can go. The same with the Luna, man. Same with Eyasluna. There's the reactive harmony build. There's even demo on there. And moving target, by the way, on 140, I think the only other one to have it is Judgment. So that's actually rare for a 140. Think of all the 140s we have in this game. Well, I mean, Hawkmoon has it, but as far as legendary goes, it's the second one. So there's a lot of cool things with it, dude. I think it's awesome.
We end up spending the entire episode on just a handful of weapons. We've also got a couple others. We've got 2 shotguns, Matador 64, Wastelander M5, got a grenade launcher, Partner Dust, got a sniper, 1,000-yard stare. They're all pretty good, right? Is there anything that like really stands out to you guys about them that makes one at least a must-have?
Wastelander in like 10 seconds. It could have everything bad about it, but for some reason that reticle makes me hit my shot. I don't know, tracking fast-moving targets, center of mass with it, so much easier than that big circle.
Agreed.
Yep.
I made a video on 1,000-yard stare with heating up on it with snapshot, and I was talking with Merc. I'm like, I guess just people don't understand. And you said one thing is like, since the beginning of this game, I do, and it's true, like players really do underestimate what accuracy does for them on a gun. I love it. I love heating up on that thing, especially ×1 and ×2, giving, 30% more accuracy at that ×2. Like, I feel untouchable with it, man. Yeah. But a lot of people are going to go for Snapshot Quick Draw, which, of course, is the beloved replacement.
Yeah, as Chris explained a while ago, what accuracy does, right, is it guarantees you the maximum effect of your aim assist, right? So when your aim assist pulls your accuracy cone over to the side, right, like it will pull it up to the aim assist diameter, but then you still have your accuracy cone angled in that direction. So it could pull your shot, but then your accuracy cone deflects the shot and it goes off wide and you miss, right? When you have perfect accuracy, if your bullet gets pulled all the way to the edge of the aim assist cone, it is going exactly to where it got pulled. Right, so you get basically the maximum effect of aim assist. It's why opening shot is so good. It's why Eye of the Storm is so good. And heating for some reason, heating up too. Literally what you're just talking about. But for some reason, people continually underestimate just how much accuracy does for your shot. And then you'll see a clip of someone with Eye of the Storm shooting at someone's waistline and getting a crit because accuracy is like, whoop, here you go.
I think
and
you're
also
onto
shooting
something.
through flinch with that sniper. Like I'm landing more shots through flinch than I ever have. When I'm, of course, even at ×1, because you have to think opening shots giving 10 accuracy, ×1's giving 15, ×2 is giving 30% accuracy with heating up. So it's 3 times what opening shot gives you, dude. Think about that. Like it's insane. But nobody, like I said, nobody believes me. It's fine. You just have to get it in your hands and you have to play with it. Then again, the perk also calls for an aggressive sniper. If you're not landing shots, it's not going to work well for you.
Yeah, Drew.
I heard that sniper though can also get 100 range or like very close to it with quick draw snap. So like technically speaking, I think Chris mentioned that on snipers it's like, yeah, for all intents and purposes, simplify, like the range stat is like the most reflective of the accuracy benefits. It's kind of 1-to-1. So
88 range
is that too?
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't looked at it enough.
You definitely maxed it out. And he's right that the accuracy cone is so narrow for snipers anyways, right? Like there's very little deflection up close. But at further distances it is, but that's what range does, right? Range narrows that cone down to where even at further distances, like you're going to get almost no deflection off a sniper shot. Cool. Well, hey, that's, I mean, I think we could probably move on from the weapons to the abilities, right? Because we just spent 45 minutes talking about them, and honestly, the weapons I don't think were even the biggest change that came with the December, the 30th anniversary update. The ability changes were massive. Was it probably the biggest ability change patch that we've had in a very, very long time in Destiny, at least since Forsaken?
Yeah, I would say so.
Not to derail, I don't think we talked about the BR.
Did we not? Did we completely? Oh, we talked about it when we talked about blunt execution.
We talked about blunt execution rounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You had a second rant for the BR, didn't you?
It deserves some time.
No, we just gloss over it. You put a video out on it. We can just point everyone that direction.
Definitely watch Drew's video.
I'm actually more curious to ask like what you guys think of it. I think that I love it because hey, it could literally be the worst gun in the game. I don't care. I'm using it. It's as simple as that for me. And I'm sure there's gonna be some people out there that are fanatics like that, but like like the same way. For me, like I just love that like there's a weapon inspired by like the most iconic Halo weapon in my opinion in Destiny. Like, and that crossover is just mind-blowingly cool, and the way it behaves and the way it feels is like so good. It feels so authentic and accurate. But I'm wondering what you guys think about it, because I think it's not that strong. I think it's as good as a lightweight, or sorry, it's not lightweight, as good as a 450 RPM pulse is gonna get.
Exactly.
But it's still a 450 RPM pulse.
Okay, where I want to start, I mean, I essentially look at it as an exotic, and you know what? They made Forerunner an exotic so they could be paired together. So that's my reasoning. It's basically an exotic. It has its own frame. It has its own perks. And the frame, I mean, what it's doing for your hip fire is really cool. Like they clamp the accuracy cone in to allow you to be able to hip fire fairly confidently. And I've found, and maybe you can agree, Drew, like the 20 meter threshold is about as good as you're going to get with a controller, because past that, it's going to start losing some of that friction and rotation, and you're just going to miss shots. M&K, I've seen some people just dome people 25, 30 meters away doing hip fire. But as you go into scope, with its stats, man, it's so stable. It's so snappy. Like I have found, like it gifts headshots, and I never really felt that with Chattering Bone. Outbreak a little bit, never felt it with Bad Juju. I think that it's one of the easiest. It is the easiest 450 I have used to land the appropriate TTK. To get those, what is it, 8 crit or 6 crit, 1 body, 8 crit, 1 body?
It's 8 crit on most players, but I mean, it's guaranteed a 3 burst for most players who are accurate enough to hit that, right? Which is a slower TTK than a lot of people like. And it's certainly not Messenger or any of the high impacts. Like if you come up to a good player using Messenger, they 2 burst you, like,
or even rapid fire, even a Darkest Before.
The rapid fires are better too.
Yeah. So is it competitive for trials? Like, are the best tournament players going to be using it? Probably not. Is it super fun to play with a BR and Halo and get hip fire accuracy and run around? I mean, I didn't think anything was going to make me take off Le Monarch, but here I am, maining Forerunner and BXR because it's incredibly fun in 6s to run. Like, I think it's one of the most fun primaries I've ever had in my hands.
Yeah, the way I feel about it is I don't think it's really exotic tier. I don't think it's different enough. I think it's like, the way I put it is I feel like this is what Pinnacle should have been. This reminds me of something like Messenger. Sure, it's got a custom frame, but I feel like that's like, it's so, I don't know. To me, it's subtle. I think that it's very cool to be able to hip fire, but it's like not by any means remotely practical or like it feels like exotic power level to me. I feel like it's nice that it's there. I mean, it's got to be there as like being the BR, but Chris actually gave us confirmation that the starting point for its accuracy at the hip is it's similar to other like pulses. It just doesn't bloom out as much. So again, I guess it's closer to ADSing, but still not ADSing because it's still closer to other pulses. And I don't know. I think that like other pulses are like, even its perk is like, it feels again quite niche. Like I'm happy to see these things, but I don't get like, it's not DMT. It's not impactful enough that I think it is like exotic level. Again, I think that it's like right there as like, this is what Pinnacles should have been, because Pinnacles were dude, Pinnacles could have been exotics and still been overpowered.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like
Even
this to
wasting a
me is
slot
like
on it.
this to me is like they nailed it. Like for a unique legendary weapon, like this is the mark to me. And I hope that this encourages Bungie to keep making unique unique legendary weapons that have something subtle or like niche, you know, tweaked about it that's cool, but not necessarily overpowering and not necessarily super unique or powerful to the point that you're like, damn, this like, why am I getting a free exotic?
Like Master of Arms.
Yeah, but exactly. You know what I mean? Like exactly. Those Pinnacles literally could have been exotics and still been overpowered. To me, I think this is similar to like Messenger, because I think Messenger is the only one with Desperado. Right? It feels like kind of at that level, and I love that. I think they absolutely nailed it. That's my favorite part of the weapon, is that like I feel like I'm using something that has the fun factor. It feels like it's, you know, it's competitive enough for me to use it in trials. Is it the best? Far from it. I tried to use it in comp last night against some good players. It took me a lot of brain power, and like I had to be really on my game to use it against hand cannons. But again, the fun factor's there, and it's competitive enough to be like high B tier, low A tier. I love it. I'm in love with the design of it.
You can also spec into it too and greatly exacerbate strength. And we talk about guns being good in PvP, and really there's like a split where they're like good for dueling, which means good for trials, good for high level comp, good for stuff like that, helps you win your ones. And then there's like good for control, good for Iron Banner, where you can chain kills really easily. This gun I think is super, super strong for chaining kills. With kill clip, the TTK drops down to 0.53, which is even, you know, it's going to be the kill clip messenger and stuff like that. Like it's fast at that point in time. It's not going to necessarily be a Desperado messenger, but that's all right. Not much will. But what I really like is that I can run perpetual motion, basically maxed out stability, have no reticle jump at all in hip fire. Also, aim assist degradation just vanishes because of perpetual motion. I can run an Icarus mod, and for the first time ever, outside of Lion Rampart's Titan with DMT, but for the first time ever on my Hunter, I feel like I can hip fire strafe and jump in an engagement and kill someone with a primary when I'm not ADS. Like I've never felt that kind of power. Hand cannons, Icarus, blah, 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 blah. I've never felt that kind of power with a pulse rifle before. I've never felt anything close to it. And that alone has totally freed up my playstyle to do what I feel like I should be able to do as a hunter, which is jump in the middle of an engagement and, you know, actually be able to hit my shots.
Yeah, I think that the freedom of movement and the versatility is what makes the weapon attractive. Like being able to properly keep space against shotgunners is fantastic, because obviously shotguns, when you're using them, have free movement. You don't really have to ADS and walk up to someone, right? So I think that's a big point of the weapon. But yeah, again, I don't think it feels like explicitly powerful. It doesn't feel explicitly powerful. It's not DMT, but it's like that legendary step.
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
And like Merc was saying, you can min-max how you want, like, especially with perpetual motion. Each stat there, stability, handling, reload, can hit 100. If you go full, like, let's say handling, I think it gets to 96. They all get into mid to high 90s, and a lot of them get to 100 with perpetual motion. So they did good. They did really good.
Yeah, and as far as the stat package...
Oh, yeah, I mean... This gun like completed, I think, my natural playstyle. I've always had a slightly lower sensitivity. So when you aim from the hip, it's technically faster for me because you're not zoomed in, not a giant target. So for that reason, I can be extremely accurate from the hip. And it's not about like getting a perfect TTK with the battle rifle. It's about having like two shotgunners pushing you at the same time and flick aiming to the correct person to team shot. That's what makes that type of gun important to me, and something that I can't really rely on a hand cannon to do outside of the last word Lucky Pants. And I even added, I guess, a new player to the roster there. I've been using a Hawk Moon with hip fire grip on Lucky Pants to give me a little bit of that battle rifle action, but back on a hand cannon.
How do we feel about the 2x zoom? Is that too much? Is that just right?
I initially kind of clowned on Snapshot, but it ended up being my favorite perk because of the ability to seamlessly go between both modes.
I don't think 2x is too much on a primary like that. I think it would be too much on some other stuff. But I mean, I've shit, I've used pulse rifles with like 2.2 before, the old Suros, like PDX and stuff like
The
that.
oculars.
Yeah. Like where you could actually switch the scopes out, which we know they're moving away from, which is kind of a bummer because the scopes were real fun. But I've used higher zoom, and as long as I'm on a longer range gun, the amount that it helps with reticle jump and stability and damage fall off and reticle friction fall off on controller, I feel like it's worth the constraints of the lower field of view. Plus, on next gen consoles and PC, you can widen your field of view anyways, and it doesn't feel nearly as bad as it used to on the old gen consoles.
The reticle on the battle rifle, it's the clearest sight we've ever had. It's not like you have a gun model blocking you when you aim down sights. So that 20 feels fantastic.
It's like a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I think that even with its beefy stats and like, I think the zoom feels great. Even with the beefy stats, I thought initially that the stats might have been a bit much. Like I was like, wow, those are like, oof, that's a lot of stats. But I think like, and like it might sometimes feel like it's like, you know, like beam and headshots, but like I feel like the second that you get into like, you know, you're in a one-on-one gunfight, it feels like you don't get first shot, you're not winning. It's not a 3 burst consistently enough. If you get shot even once by another weapon and you're flinched off of even one bullet, you're done. Like you're now like what, 1.33 territory, and it's like, I want to say majority of the time is a 4 burst, like, and you're most likely going to lose, I find. And if you're hip firing, you're probably not getting a 3 burst either in my experience, which I like to use at hip fire a lot. It's usually a 4 burst. So I don't know, like I think that its stats are maybe warranted for this archetype. I want to say that if they keep making pulses of this archetype after this, I'd love to see the stat package stick, because I think this proves that this archetype, like, you know, can get beefy stats like this. Maybe it's just to be that bit more competitive, because right now it's like, man, this even with all that, the archetype like struggles to compete.
The 450s are like the only ones Bungie has never touched. When Redrix came out, so those hard-hitting pulses, they got a TT or a ease of use shift. I think it's what you can have 2 body shots within the 2 burst. They also did it with
one most of the time, and then some on lower resiliences you can go nab 2 body shots maybe.
And the rapid fires too. So they used to require 100% crit ratios, right? The original Redrix was very good with Desperado, but it was like, dude, you have to land a full clean 2 burst, and if you don't, it's not that good. So there were better options for when Redrix first came out for the Claymore. And then the fast firing pulses, they too got a ease of use buff where you can land some body shots. The lightweights are the only ones that still require a 100% crit ratio pretty much. And I think that's the reason why they don't get used. It's the same reason why you didn't see high impacts in the past, and also the rapid fire frames. But once they got buffed, you see them more. And I wonder if they would ever up the body damage on those lightweights.
Well, I was going to mention, like, do you think it's because this is kind of mirroring the 140s? It's the mirror of the 140s.
It is. Pulse form.
Like, is that, like, I've thought about it. Do you think that's why? Like,
I don't know.
Because TTK, it's like, it is literally a mirror.
It's the 0.87. And like we were saying, like the BXR, because it's so stat heavy, like you can achieve that 0.87 pretty confidently to land your burst on them. But as you said, I mean, even with the hand cannon, once you miss, that 0.87 goes to a what,
1.3-ish?
It's a little bit, it's more, right? In theory, if they miss, you should kill them. But but these pulses, I have no idea why they haven't gave them just a little bit ease of use, because there's a lot that goes on with the pulse burst, because there's a burst delay, and there's also the crit ratio needed within the 3 bullets, right? If you start at the body, you could get 2 heads, one body shot within a burst. And then of course being flinched off. So I've always felt that they could use a little bit of ease of use to them, but I don't know why they've never been touched, literally never been touched. They also haven't made too many of them.
Oh, up until this, there was a legitimate concern that they were going to die as an archetype.
Yeah, so there's more exotics than legendaries.
Lightweight. So I kept a lightweight pulse in my vault, Nightshade with moving target and kill clip, because I felt that role did something unique that we never saw again. It gave it faster strafe speed on lightweight, and then a time to kill of perfect 2 bursts.
Yeah, but that's what the BXR has by default, kind of.
Right? I know they solved so much of the archetype with, if all 450s were that perfect hip fire, I think they would have been competitive the entire game up until now.
Well, Regardless, I do think it's probably time to move on to abilities because we've gone a full hour talking about the weapons and we haven't even hit abilities at all. So I guess just like wide range in summary, how are we feeling about the changes? Positive, negative, overall good? Thumbs up?
It is so nice not getting Shatter Dove every other respawn. It's
hold
so
on now.
nice.
I feel like that's uncalled for. I enjoyed Shatter Diving
straight
people all
up,
the time.
man. It's so nice not getting, it all trickles, man. Like the Dune chains are way down. The Shatter Dives are way down. Some of the problem things are gone. And I actually think that the Crucible plays better. Now, I also have noticed too that a lot of people, it shows that they haven't been using their guns. Because they're still on Rev Hunter, they're still doing all these things, but their shot isn't too good. The abilities lasting longer, you can also really build into them. And I made that spreadsheet. Every single one of them really, really encourages you to go to 10. If you're at 9, you need to go to 10. It's some of the biggest jumps within an ability. And everyone was really worried, like, oh, now everything's going to take 3 minutes like the Flux Grenade. No, like actually some of them are faster than we've ever seen. Like the 28-second Fusion Grenade, I think it's 26 seconds for the Firebolt. They come out really, really quick, really, really hot. The Dust Fields too.
Yeah, I'm going to expand on that in a sec.
Yeah, but the Dust Fields, they are zoning. They aren't, to me, it's like, man, you just should have done it in the first place because they are kind of area denial. And of course, there's the one-shot Flux. That thing's hard to hit. I don't know if you guys have ever used it.
Seen a bunch of them fly right past me. As people miss.
We have Void 3.0 coming for a lot of the Void stuff. The super tiers, I don't know how I feel about the super tiers with some of them. But I think overall, the game's playing great. I think the game's playing some of the best that it ever has. That's where I'll start.
They did the right job with the variable cooldown idea, because now a player has to choose between frequency or lethality. You don't get both anymore. And so there were some that you think it would kill a build, like Shinobu's Vow. They put 66% less effective. But what we didn't know at the time was that Skip Grenade was going to be the fastest of the 3 grenade options. So when compared within itself, Hunter, and then compared to Warlock and Titan, you find that Shinobu's Vow is still a viable option because compared to the other 3, it is the fastest by a wide margin. Yeah. Still. So you can use Lemon Arc and Shinobu's in Trials still and have more kill output than other things because you always have your abilities and they might not. It takes the sting away from dying to certain abilities too, because I know if they spent like a Pulse Grenade, for example, to finish me, that I'm not seeing that Pulse Grenade for a while.
Yeah, it's like the Skip Grenade, tier 9's 48 seconds, tier 10's 40 seconds. So 8 seconds faster to go to tier 10. And you have to think with Shinobu's, even though there's diminishing returns, there's still the perk giving grenade back. There's still grenade kickstart. There's still bomber. It still does well. And you're still going to have the uptime faster than most other grenades in the game, ability-wise. Unless, there's a Dawnblade running around just chunking firebolts everywhere.
Oh, just
which those do 65.
Backpacking 2 grenades is enough for me. It doesn't even have to replenish it. It's the fact that I can hit them with a bow in the leg and then say, are they worth 2 grenades right now? Like, that's my cooldown. It's not just 1 skip, it's 2 for me. They can't even dodge out of it anymore because of the Hunter dodge changes. So it maybe makes skips changes to hit more often.
Shoulder charge, that's good too.
Yes, it's a good movement option on Titan. As well as now on the build crafting front, we finally have a use for Peregrine Greaves.
Yeah. Drew?
I don't know what to say about this other than I love it. Like, this has been the most fun I've had playing Destiny in an incredibly long time. It feels really good. And I love the variable cooldown stuff. It feels like I have a choice to make. Really potent, strong ability with long cooldown, weaker ability with fast cooldown. There's so many more choices and what goes into like build crafting now and what you value and what you spec into and the way that you spec into it with your build and everything. I think it's awesome. Like I said this in my video, this is the least likely timeline. I never would have ever thought I'm going to play Blade Barrage like I am right now of all classes. But look, it's a tier 4 super. It's got fast charging abilities. It's got an engine or a kit that loops other abilities like dodge, which is incredibly valuable. It's awesome. Like I really, really like it. Like I gotta say, I think they did a phenomenal job. I'm loving the game right now.
So the fears that everybody had coming into this were that we were going to be returning to D2 year one in terms of long ass cooldowns, weak abilities. I think it's pretty clear that does not happen. I think the Crucible, the game state has greatly improved with these changes. Pretty much across the board is what I would say. I mean, I'm sure there are a few outliers that the experience has gotten worse for, but I really think that it's way more fun to play PvP now than it was before this change.
Agreed. There are some issues, I think, with the super times.
I'm glad you brought it up.
They said that they wanted to avoid, quote, super o'clock. It's still happening, but it's happening later because a lot of people still are on Shadebinder, Fist of Havoc, Glacial Quake, Spectral Blades. It's just happening much later in the match. And then some things like, dude, I think the best things to run right now are Thunder Crash and Arc Staff. Being at a tier 3, because Thunder Crash, you could use it just to, get a team wipe, but you're going to have it before any roaming super has it, and I will shut it down. So you might as well, like, if you see a Thunder Crash in another team, you need to get off a tier 1 super, because that's who I'm going for, and that's who you should be going for. Like, you're not going to get to use your super this game, period.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say, I have an issue with the intellect on how much people get for super for taking damage. I almost feel like that contributes to super o'clock. It just maybe needs to be tweaked slightly downward to prevent that.
So big shout out to Castle.
Yeah, he did the exact numbers.
Yeah, so look up Castle content. He did all the actually hard numbers of how much damage it does take. And like, I think it's, a kill is worth 10 units on 450 to your total super. So there's 450 units for your super bar. A kill is 10 of those units. But also taking and receiving damage, he found out that it also depends on what tier you're at. So basically, if you're on Well, or let's use Well because it's the fastest, right? Tier 5 super, 5 minute 19 seconds compared to 7 minute 59 seconds for a tier 1 Shadebinder. If you getting kills with your primary gets you a faster super than using a special weapon. So like, I think it compared, like, you would need to get 3 or 4 shotgun kills you need to get like 4 shotgun kills to equate to 2 primary hand cannon kills. So like, he kind of goes through where the super energy is coming from, and like Thresh is still really, really strong. But I don't know if I like that either. Like, you're already using a fast super and you're getting it even fast. Well, maybe that's how they're dictating that it's the tiers. Like, we're saying, you know what? We know that it's a fast base, and while you're getting kills, it's going to be even faster. Meanwhile, if you want to roam around with your Fist of Havoc or your Glacial Quake, even though you're getting kills, it's still going to take a long time, even with your passive base being so long. It's a really intricate system. Highly recommend you guys watch that video. But the super clock still happens. And some of those in the mid tier, Thunder Crash, Arc Staff, really stick out in the current sandbox.
For trials reasoning, there's another thing to consider, and that's Orbs of Light, where you can use a fast super to compensate for the slower supers to where it doesn't make a difference ultimately. Just having one single blade barrage equals 3 fast supers, because 1 Orb of Light makes up for the slow.
So yeah, I was gonna bring this up and talk, Kim, with you about it. So we're kind of theory crafting like our kind of trials build, and I assume that these changes, we haven't even seen them yet in trials, which will be a whole different discussion, because I'm sure they're more impactful even like when we're talking about super o'clock and that kind of stuff. I still think that it'll be more impactful in trials and in threes. However, me and Ken were kind of theory crafting our ideal team build for this season, or what we think we're going to go in with. And for us, it's we're going with, okay, if what we did previously was with the high intellect meta, 2 of us would run high intellect and 1 would run low, so we can spec into a harder neutral game, because the other 2 people running high intellect are going to get the super for the low intellect person anyways. As long as we have super presence, it shouldn't matter. You very rarely need more than 1 super on the board at the time where supers are coming up to contest. So we're kind of going with a similar mindset of okay, let's take I'm gonna take Blade Barrage, and we'll take Thunder Crash. Those are 2 very strong shutdown supers with good kits, and we're just gonna we kind of coined the low tier powerful or potent supers, and the roaming ones as boss supers. So we're gonna get just 2 fast supers and 1 boss super on a team, so we can essentially just dump our supers as much as possible to either stop theirs, get picks, and be catalyst for the boss super. So essentially, it's almost like there's like no difference.
I do fear, because they did say that Bubble, Ward of Dawn, is going to be a tier 5 fast. I do worry about Crest of Alpha Loopy. Bubbles.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the difference between two supers in a game for sure.
What if all three are using it? And everybody's using, let's say, Fist of Havoc in the team. Like, once a bubble comes, the rest are coming right after each round. So, I mean, we'll see how that shakes out. That's in the future, but that's the first thing I thought of. Like, yeah, we're going to make the Ward of Dawn the fastest in the game. I'm like, well, the Crest is there. Trials can be passive sometimes. I think I know what's going to happen.
So I'm going to kind of cheat here because we're definitely going to run out of time. We're not going to get to listener questions. I'm going to pull some listener questions that had to do with this abilities thing up into here. So we got two that I'm kind of going to loop together from Flame and from Jonah. And the first one is like, what is a subclass that you feel was underrated in the previous sandbox that shines in the new one? And the second one was, what weapon and or subclass do you think has had the biggest shift in power in the sandbox? So obviously weapons, we're talking weapons that can help you, like exotics and stuff that can help you contribute to get your abilities back. Do you guys feel like there is one subclass or one weapon in particular that previously was like, you could kind of just forget about it, and now it's like nearly a must have or very, very good? Or vice versa, do you think there was something that tanked hard the other direction?
I like Drew's answer in Blade Barrage. Variable cooldown let something that when everything was the same cooldown, completely ignored. But now that it can stand alone as one of the fastest, it's worth its weight in gold. So that's my answer, Blade Barrage for at least the super.
What about weapons? Is there a weapon like that?
Mida? I don't know if you guys have used Mida or Jade or Scouts, and a more weapon based. They do decently. But I was going to say, you know, as far as exotics, I mean, Arc Staff with Raiju, dude, that got a lot better. All those tier 3s are really good. Like I brought up Thunder Crash earlier. They get their supers at the right time and they shut down at the right time. And the Raiju Strider, especially with deflect, if they do have something before you, you can still pocket your super, get a deflect, get a kill, and then go ahead and cancel it. So I think the Arc Strider in general got a lot better, especially with Raiju. Yeah, weapon-wise, that's kind of tough.
Well, yeah, the only thing I could think of weapon-wise off the top of my head was the BXR can actually roll with Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie stacked, which I think is one of the only guns that can do that. So, or maybe one of the only primaries that can do that.
It's that, Judgment, and there's like one more.
Weirdly enough, I find Surplus easier to upkeep now, not harder.
A lot of people were worried about that.
So I'm not picking a weapon, I'm picking a perk. Yeah, I can go into variable cooldown, go the fastest cooldown possible, and on something that gets it back quick. Like I've always run Starfire Protocol or Stasis as my surplus subclass. So Starfire Protocol lets me bank 2 fusion grenades, which comparatively does have a pretty fast cooldown, and then Fusion Nade kill equals a rift, or standing in a rift and getting shots, not even kills, equal to fusion grenades. So it's really easy to make sure that I always have 3 or at least 2 abilities banked. And by the way, Quick Charge, the Charge with Light mod, adds handling to the shotgun now. So realistically, I only need 2 out of the 3, not even 3 out of the 3, to keep Quick Draw on some of my shotguns.
The fusion grenade's 28 seconds on tier 10.
Right, and I do keep it at tier 10. And the crazy thing is that your tier also determines how much grenade energy you get back per hit in the Empowering Rift. So if I was using Thorn, for example, shot him once with Thorn and then threw the Empowering Rift, that's an entire grenade back just for doing that.
It's nuts. You know, top tree Arc Strider has a 15-second melee, dude. Like, Surplus got good on a lot of different... You can tell that they really want you to build craft, dude. They really do. Because some of these cooldowns, the biggest jump is from 3 to 4. You need to get off of 3. Because I know like a lot of triple 100 builds will put stats into the 2s, tier 2. Like, you don't want to do that, man. 3 to 4 is really good. For a lot of the supers, like tier 5 to 7 is like the sweet spot. Unless you want to just max, like Drew was saying, like if you have a fast super kit, run max intellect to help out, you know, your other teammates.
Stasis got nuts because they added the extra fragments to the Revenant. So people used to run the big Glacier Grenade with Shatter Dive. Now you can run the small Glacier Grenade, which is more consistent as a platform anyway. So if you're the kind of player that plays the map, Revenant got better comparatively.
Yeah.
So the one person out there who was using Revenant not as a shatter diving hunter, but the one person who was actually using it as a traversal subclass.
It's my time.
Yeah.
You won't be surprised at how much that wins games where you have this instant Titan barricade, where you have this platform on an off angle on the ceiling somewhere with resist, get a free revive, that kind of thing. Or in my case, a surplus backpack for the shurikens.
These Destiny kids that are too young, they didn't play Halo, they don't know about map control, they don't know about positioning. All they know about is overpowered abilities and lots of aim assist, right?
Gonna learn today.
Yeah.
Hits him with the BXR.
Yeah.
It gave a lot of subclasses identities that they didn't have. And Drew's example of the Blade Barrage Hunter is a really good one, because it does, in its own way, it bypasses what the abilities did, but you still have to be lethal with it, like you were talking about an engine, right? So,
I mean, do we have anything?
I'm impressed.
Do we need to summarize abilities more than just like on the whole? It's pretty positive. I got one more question that was specifically directed at Cammy that I want to ask. Okay. But do you feel bad that we covered abilities in like 10 minutes after covering weapons in like an hour? I just feel like there was a lot to say about weapons and abilities. It's kind of just like mostly positive.
So I do think that Titan got the short end on the ability adjustments.
I would have to
actually
agree.
every adjustment. Now that I think about it, I would like some of the Titan tiers to be switched around a little bit with their supers, and a lot of the like. So let's look at. Oh, what's a good one? Like a lot of the void stuff, like the Sentinel, man. A lot of it's the same.
Aren't they the same cooldown? Like all three grenades?
But like a lot of them are shared too. Like the pulse grenade is a pulse grenade, right? A solar grenade is a solar. If you run a solar on a Dawnblade, it's a solar on a Sunbreaker. But a lot of their cooldowns are quite long and compared to a lot of the other characters. I don't know.
I think they were kind of just saying this is a band-aid until Void 3.0, to be honest.
Yeah,
like that's the way I read it.
When we saw what they're going to do to Sentinel and Void 3.0, like, and all of them really, but I think that's going to help out a lot. And, and remember, they did say, now it's tuned in such a way they can piece them out. Like, hey, this is underperforming. Let's get that ability a little bit faster. It's overperforming. Let's go a little slower. So that's really good. It's something I think that we needed or this game needed as a PvP game. Even PvE. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in PvE, all these feel great. Even though they seem long, you're in more engagements, you get to kill more things. Some of it actually feels a little bit faster. So I'm very impressed with it.
Well, let's flip that right into the question that was for Cammy anyways, which you guys all think the Titans have kind of got the short end of the stick. So Pyros is asking, are there any Titan builds that have caught your attention for PvP specifically? I know Cammy, I think, plays the most Titan out of all of us.
So my answer is yes, but I'm kind of like disappointed with my answer because I tried Titan first, then Hunter, then Warlock. And on Titan, I had all these obnoxious ability builds, and almost all of them were like a heavy downward arrow for me. Whereas the same ability builds on Hunter and Warlock felt like they were barely downward, if at all.
Yeah, like
comparatively. Like Heart of Light, it got neutered. And there's a couple builds on Titan that, to be fair, I need to try with an optimized build, like the shoulder charging and whatnot. That's probably crazy now with the detection. So I need to give that more credit. But I ended up regressing back to the neutral builds. I'm back on Lion Rampant DMT battle rifle. I'm back on Synthecept just to have a neutral lunge because you don't need an ability melee to have a mega lunge. And the way that Titan plays, typically they place their barricade, and Synthecept is the difference maker between not short stopping while punching through your barricade. And that makes a huge difference. Then there's also One-Eyed Mass, just a free overshield for playing the game.
Neutral exotics, and that's where a lot of people are going because a lot of people do not want to mess with builds. It's been like that for a while, and the big things within the Crucible are going to be your class ability, which is your mobility, resilience, recovery, depending on what character you're on. It's going to be your recovery after that. Now, it used to be intellect, but now people have a little bit more freedom depending on how well they're doing and what tier super they get, that they can go into discipline or strength a little bit. But people are still, there's Stompies, there's still Dunes, there's still Steps.
That is a perfect transition to section 3 that I actually want to talk about before we run out of time. We got 9 minutes left.
Done.
So when we asked for questions on Twitter, I think 4 or 5 questions were actually about Stompies. I know Cool Guy just put out a video. I know Drewski's talked about it in the past. I want to direct this question, but we had a perfect 50-50 split on the questions. 2 people were like, why the hell do they want Stompies nerfed? And 2 people were like, how the hell have Stompies not been nerfed yet? So I'm going to direct this one to Drew, but Drew, thoughts on Stompies?
I don't know. I don't like that they get as much benefit as they do. I feel like it's a benefit that's like incredibly influential and not entirely difficult to take advantage of without any sort of downtime whatsoever. I think that the amount, first of all, you know, going back to what makes the BR nice and fun to use, that free movement is part of what makes shotgun so strong. You get free movement with a shotgun. You're not sitting there ADSing something or whatever. And Stompies takes that to an even further level. So you get to be that much more aggressive, put that much more pressure on someone, and close that gap that much faster. So that kind of ability to me feels incredibly influential and incredibly powerful, and it kind of proves itself because at a top level, well, the best players are using that and for a good reason, you know? And I think that kind of uptime is just like, I don't want the exotic to die. I want to be very abundantly clear about that it should not die. That is never the goal, is not kill this exotic. I just dislike personally how much uptime it has and how much just it provides that's so easy to take advantage of, even for like an average player without any seeming like downside. There's no downside in sight for me as far as I can tell. I have thought about it a little bit more though. There is this potential where like, hey, if you nerf Stompies, what happens? Does everyone go to Gemini's, Wormhusk, Dragon Shadow? I think Dragon Shadow is fine, but I would agree that like, hey, if that in this hypothetical world where Stompies were to get nerfed, I would agree that, hey, you probably have to take something away from Gemini's. And I think that would be stop making it so you can see the damage ping through walls. So I essentially have wall hacks, and stop making it so I get kill credit off of that. Because I'm not gonna lie, that's what pushes that exotic over the edge for me. And then I guess with Wormhusk, you'd have to do something to that as well. So I don't know. That's just the idea for me.
It's funny you say that, Drew, that transition there. Well, you know, if you nerf Stompies, does that mean, are people just going to go to Dragon Shadow, Wormhusk? And what was the other one?
Oh,
Gemini?
no, obviously.
Yeah, because all those literally require you to burn a dodge. Stompies don't.
Yeah,
So why
you're
would you
not
nerf?
wrong.
So why would you nerf those when Stompies never had any requirement to get going? And that's the issue with Stompies. And dude,
You're not
Are
wrong.
you guys
Dude.
saying that Stompies needs a cooldown as opposed to Stompies getting nerfed and what it provides?
too much
you would give
of
it a
a
cooldown instead.
non-choice. And so many people have been using it for so long. And I've heard so many rebuttals. And like I said, I'm open for debate on them. It's like, oh, you know, all the other 100 exotics are trash. I'm like, well, first of all, no, they're not. A lot of people say, well, you know, the 100's just so slow. I'm like, well, it's slow because you've been playing Stompies for the past 2,000 hours. Third, it's a clear edge. If it wasn't a clear edge, you wouldn't be seeing them in every single game you play for the past 6 years. And like I said, in the video I made, when you take all of the comp games ever played, all the trials games ever played, what percentage of the hunter pick rate was to Stompies compared to anything else? Do you think that it wasn't the highest? Like, would you bet your entire vault that it wasn't Stompies? There's no way it's Stompies. Well, it was. Everybody knows that. We don't have to get numbers on that. The issue is, it takes a kit that has the best vertical movement, and it elevates it for free. Like, so my issue has always been, and you don't need to nerf them. They still need, they can do the same thing that they do. And in my video, I suggested that you could buff them. I'd be okay if you burned a dodge, make them have the behemoth knee slide. I don't care, as long as it takes something away, just not to have something active all the time. And that's my main argument with them. It's not that, I mean, dude, you can use what you want. I use them every now and again. Everybody uses them. And there's a good reason why they use them. And it's because there's zero downside and it's a non-choice. There's no thinking about it. If I do run the Shinobis, we went and talked about it, or if I do run Assassin's Cal or the Bombardiers, like they all take something to get going. And within the Crucible, within that space, your movement matters. And you get it for free. And it is better than the other subclasses with Stompies. Would anybody disagree there? I'm talking about while it's being free, it has the best movement kit. Overall, what would you put up against it?
Top Tree Dawn, right?
Top Tree Dawn has a cooldown.
Yeah.
Next question.
So just makes Stompies only work for 10 seconds after a dodge, right? You got to burn your dodge and then you get Stompies benefit.
It's not
for
even
10
close.
seconds,
One
and
is
then
pick
you-
up and play, and like the only other one I can compare that has like a crazy ceiling is Lion Rampant, and that's playing the map and also playing the scroll wheel in ways that really do require a lot of playtime to get that like catapult strafe out. Otherwise, you overthrow it. You can't overthrow Stompies. It's 2 buttons.
And also, through the past of this game and the Crucible, each time that there is very heavy weighted skill-based matchmaking, very, or the flawless pull, when it was cranked up, that comes out. And that will always come out because that's what the top players are using. They're using it because it's a clear edge that other people don't have. And I'm telling you right now, if every single one had the same movement you had with Stompies, you wouldn't be getting the same kills as you are. Because I would have it too. Everyone would have it. You wouldn't get away with the stuff that you're getting away with because it doesn't have any sort of requirement to get them going. And rant.
Well,
they do
that's
need
a
to be
fun
nerfed.
Conversation. Everybody loves.
I've always
Stompies
been
one way or the
firm
other.
on that. I've never backed down from that in my reasoning.
My whole thing, we talked about this. My whole thing was just remove aim assist when you're in the air if you have Stompies on, and then we'll see who's really good at aiming and who's not. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But all right, let's try to get at least like 1 or 2 listener questions in if we can. Squeeze them in the last 2 minutes here. We got one from Tinkin. He says, now that weapons are the focus in PvP, are there any archetypes that are running hotter than you would have expected? I know it hasn't been a long time, but has anything really jumped out to you so far? Again, this is archetypes of weapons that you think are like, wow, I'm surprised how good this is.
No.
Everything kind of by the book.
Nope.
Pretty much what we expected.
I think it's what we expected.
Let's see. With 2021 coming to a close, what are some of your favorite new and/or reprised legendary weapons from this entire year? Not just from the most recent release, although I can suspect that some of them might be, but from the entire year of 2021, what's been your weapon that's seen the most uptime or most usage?
All right,
what's
I'll pull up
Say it
Doom.
one more time.
So, like, what's your favorite weapon from this whole year, from all of 2021? Hard question.
Mine was made within the last few days.
So that made it easy for you then.
Yeah.
So it's Beyond Light, right? Something that launched with Beyond Light.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I'd
that's
say
fair.
Cloud Strike. Still.
What about you, Cammy?
I really couldn't. Age Receptor. Let's go with that.
All right. Some unique weapons. There's some unique ones. Mine's gonna have to be Le Monarch recently, I think. I mean, I guess it didn't launch, but I started using it. And so it's like a whole new world for me. It's opened up a bunch of things. All right. Let's see. What are you looking to grab most in prep or to check off your list before Witch Queen starts? Is there anything that you're hunting really badly that you want to try to get before you have to roll into Witch Queen in February?
Honestly, my top things is to get the demo Adrenaline Junkie, BXR, and Judgment. I want them both.
I want a Wolftone's draw with Archer's Tempo and Harmony.
I'll give you
Sounds
mine.
super
No big
weird, but it
What do you want
fills
that
a
for?
niche that I need.
What is the niche?
Age Receptor.
Oh. Okay. All right, Drew, what about you? Anything you're still hunting, or you have everything you could
I
wish
don't know,
for?
man. Like, I'm good. I'm chilling. Now, you know what? To be honest, I think what it is I don't even know if I'll use it, but I would like a reprised Twilight Oath with snapshot and opening shot. Just to have it.
Just to have it.
I'm looking for retraced path with max range. That's the only thing that I'm like actively grinding for right now. Turning in those damn treasure keys, I haven't gotten shit. So Let's see.
Real quick,
Huh?
I did hear, maybe it's a rumor, maybe we can, but that trace cam, you know, when you click and it drains your super.
Yes.
I heard that is tied to your tier. So like literally you get it longer if you have a slower time. Like if you're on a shade binder, or if you're on it will actually drain slower because the super takes longer. I don't know if that's
That makes
confirmed.
sense. I can't confirm.
So
I've read it in a lot of different things. I haven't really noticed just in the heat of the moment.
That'd be interesting.
I'm surprised your weapon wasn't DMT cam.
I mean, that did a lot, but Aegis Scepter solved a lot of subclasses for me.
Night Stalker.
True. You like giving up like your super and abilities like that when you can for like stronger gunplay. So it definitely seems like it's up your alley now that I think about it.
DMT, I felt, has made me like the boss monster of a player, though, in sense of like it finally completed my skill set, and now I get to punish supers. So it's the opposite. I get to kill now the things that annoy me in PvP with Vorpal Weapon DMT. And I'm telling you, 3-tapping a Missile Titan is the funniest thing in the game.
All right, one last question, then we'll call it a night. Chat is insistent that we address spawn times in PvP. And I guess they changed, they increased by what, 2 seconds? They went from 5 seconds to 7 seconds, or was it maybe a higher increase than that? But I think it's just Control and Iron Banner and Rumble right now. Are those the ones? How are we feeling about the spawn time changes? I personally am neutral to not in favor of. Like, I don't think that it made anything better. And in a lot of people's opinion, I think it made something worse. So how do you guys feel about it?
I'm indifferent. I think that it's worse. Like, there's a part of me that thinks that system would help a map like Dead Cliffs, but it just makes it worse. It's like, well, just go ahead and put me there. It's going to take 7 seconds now. Just put me at back A. I know that's what the game's going to do. But mostly I'm indifferent, man.
I don't really think it was the spawn times that were the problem. I think it was the spawn locations that it was choosing.
Okay, now you said the thing that makes me want to talk here. Yeah, let's talk about the real problem here. It's not the timer, it's the map and mode.
I'm largely indifferent. Yeah, I was like kind of waiting there. I'm largely indifferent, although one thing I will say I really like about it is longer games. I feel like I like the fact that my life feels a little bit more valuable, sometimes a little less chaotic, and most importantly, longer games, because I really enjoy just like a little, not drawn out, but like I like when games go a little bit more of the distance rather than always being like a mercy rule or like some, I don't know. But again, largely indifferent for the most part.
So,
those are just my little observations.
Is everyone here then pretty much in agreement that at best it is the same as it was before, and it probably errs a little bit on the side of being worse? As nobody thinks that it improved things like across the board to lengthen
Not
the
noticeably.
spawn times.
Not noticeably.
Not enough to justify keeping the longer spawn times, I suppose.
The frustration.
I can't say that it
Go for it.
improved it enough, but I like I said, I like the longer games. I'm not gonna lie, I like that games kind of go to time a little bit more. Like, I like the full games. I really do. That's an improvement to me. I like the full games. Otherwise, though, in terms of like pacing, I don't think it made a massive difference.
They could have just, upped the score limit that you had to get to, and that would make games go to time too, right? Without. Maybe. All right. Well, I think that's probably it. I guess we got to go around the table and say who we are and where you can find us. So I guess I'll just go left to right on my screen. So first off, Cammy, where can the people find you?
I woke up at 3 a.m. today and have been gaming ever since because we got a new Phantasy Star update, and you'll find me at twitch.tv/CammyKicks. I'm going to sleep.
All right. Cool guy. What about you?
On Twitter and YouTube, Cool Guy Games, and Twitch is I Am Cool Guy Games. And real quick, there is a full auto mod now, so you can put it on your favorite pulse or hand cannon if you want.
There's also Sweaty Confetti, which unfortunately takes a mod slot, which makes it very sad. Yeah.
It's S tier.
Yeah. All right. Drew, what about you?
Twitch.tv/Drewskis, youtube.com/Drewskis channel. That's where you can find me.
And I am Mercules. You can find me on Twitter at Mercules904. You can find me on the Destiny Massive Breakdowns podcast, releases Friday morning, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. thank you guys for joining us for Firing Range tonight. We are really happy that we could be with you. And hopefully next time you see us, we'll have Fallout back taking over hosting duties, and everything will run nice and smooth like it's supposed to. So
that is Fallout Plays on Twitter and YouTube.
And is he only streaming on YouTube, or is he on Twitch too, or does he not do any of that anymore?
He's on Twitch. I think it's Fallout Plays there as well.
He's got the same name ever. A lucky guy. All right, who's controlling? Cammy, you're controlling the stream.
Yeah, I'm controlling the stream. So let's.
Do we need to
raid
raid
somebody, and then I will stop stream. I'm stopping the recording now.